We are following breaking news out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with the arraignment for the suspected school shooter, a man who police tell us has confessed to killing 17 people in Parkland, Florida 1 month ago today. The arraignment for that man just wrapping up. Let's take a quick listen to what happened.
We would just like to advise the court and the state of Florida that at any time Mr. Cruz is willing to enter a plea of guilty on all 34 counts, consecutive life sentences, in exchange for the waiver of the death penalty.
Is that the trial date, Your Honor, that you just set?
The trial date, yes.
And will be there, and would the court set a trial date as well?
Sure, it'll be the following Monday.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to ask is...
So there you just heard the public defender saying if the prosecutor would agree to waive the death penalty,
Judge,
that Nikolas Cruz is prepared to plead guilty on all 34 counts. Remember, he is facing 17 counts of premeditated murder, 17 counts of attempted murder. And I'm here with my legal team, HLN legal analyst, criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson, former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Robert Bianchi. And both of you had the same reaction to the prosecutor's reaction to that offer from the defense, and it was smart move on the prosecutor's part. We are just plowing through.
I, as a prosecutor who's been in this position before, I love his panache. It wasn't just, no, it's not accepted. It's like, Judge, can you please set the trial date? It was a great response.
And does that tell you that they want to move forward with this? They want to try this man, and they want to push for the death penalty?
You know, Erica, what was said in the courtroom, at least as it relates to the death penalty, is not new. What they have said, that is the defense team has said, that, look, we will plead him guilty if you take it off the table. At this point in time, it wasn't on the table. He was contemplating, that is, the prosecutor was contemplating whether he should pursue the death penalty. In my view, it was a foregone conclusion that the prosecutor would, and they did. And so make no mistake about it, this was for the public to hear, not for the prosecutor to hear. It's to start the debate. Well, he offered to plead guilty. Why bother have a trial? Does it make sense? Would it be better for him to rot in jail than to pursue the death penalty? And so maybe it applies the public pressure upon the prosecutor to say, okay, let him plead guilty.
I think Joey's analysis is spot on, but I think that they made a tactical mistake because the public is going to be saying, no way, go all the way. The victim's family want them to go all the way. And the prosecutor, the defense offered what we would call snow and winter. The prosecutor is going to win a life sentence anyway, so why would you? That's giving the stowaways, we would say it. They want the death penalty. This is perhaps the best death penalty case I've ever seen, having handled them myself. Why would you just give the store away like that?
You bring up an interesting point too about what the families would want. Joey, how much of that enters in here? I mean, these are legal decisions. Right. So how much of that emotion enters in for the prosecutor's decision on what they want to pursue?
You know, I think it's significant, but I think Bob will agree it's not determinative. And what that means is this. There is actually in the press, some families have said, at least one of which I read today, is that we don't want the death penalty. We want this guy to rot in jail. But the bottom line is that, remember, a prosecutor is a public official. And as a result of that, you know, you have to listen to your public. You have to play ball with your public in terms of what they're thinking, what their views are, what their beliefs are. But in this case, it's so egregious what he did, and it set off such a national movement, much of which we're seeing today with these high school students changing the world, marching. They were here at Central Park. They're marching across the country, that, you know, you got to set a bright line. And I think this prosecutor said it's time, and this is what I'm doing.
The other thing that was brought up, and we actually spent a fair amount of this arraignment going through the documentation that the public defender had been able to find or not been able to find. There's this question of whether or not he is indigent, basically whether or not he can afford to pay for his own attorney, or if he deserves to have a public defender. Are you surprised that we're having that discussion now?
I'm not surprised. It was really hard for me to hear, but I hope the prosecutor is staying out of this, because a defendant has a constitutional right to attorneys, and let's face it, I've handled them. Public defenders are the best death penalty experts in the country. They are on the cutting edge of all Supreme Court decisions, and when I tried death penalty cases as a prosecutor, I have to be honest with you, I was impressed with their ability to throw constant motions at the court and constant legal arguments. So there's a big implication here. A private lawyer cannot handle the magnitude of this case, in my opinion. And all of the experts, Joey, right? There could be at least 15 or 20 typical defense experts that are called in the mitigation phase of the penalty case on even the couple of $100,000. So there are profound implications if he loses his PD.
And really quickly, Joey, how much money would they have to prove he has access to for him to lose that opportunity of having a public defender?
So here's what the law says. It talks about whether you have sufficient resources to hire counsel without setting a specific bar. And as a result of that, this is going to go on. I mean, as you talked about, Bob, the expert witnesses. This is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe in the millions. I think at the end of the day, he's indigent, notwithstanding his inheritance. But what you could see is that inheritance go to pay off the PD.
Joey, Bob, appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you.